way that I portray myself, the way that I do certain things on certain days, or how I interact with the table or interact with customers that walk through the door, or whatever the case may be, they see that and they go, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do.
We're leveling up.
Absolutely.
Hey, this is Deb, and this is Happy Hour with Deb, and today I've got this badass entrepreneur. This would be Chris Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me just back people into you a little bit here.
Fair enough.
Entrepreneur.
Fair.
Business owner.
Yes.
Father.
Yes.
Motivator.
Of sorts.
Absolutely. And obviously an innovator. When we start getting into what you really do, I'm going to grant you that title. If you don't want to take it, I'm going to give it to you.
I appreciate that. Again, it's sometimes hard to hear because it's like I don't view myself as that.
Right.
But yes, we're starting a new concept and going to see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's give everybody a little background.
Yep.
Chris and I were fortunate enough to meet through another friend, a connecting friend, here in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And he opened this incredible, cool, I've been, I've eaten, I conquered. Tell everybody about this place, this concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Birdie
Bros. Yes.
Birdie Bros.
So it's a 10,000 square foot indoor facility. It's got 7 indoor golf simulators and a full bar, full restaurant. On top of that, it's an elevated bar experience. So what we say, or what we mean by elevated bar experience, is it's not your same old sports bar. We have a very large array of different spirits, different wine options. We've got a made from scratch kitchen in the back. So things taste and look and feel a little different than a traditional sports bar. But yeah, so roughly 2.5 years ago, kind of came up with this wild, crazy idea on the way home from a wedding, actually in Ohio.
I do my best thinking from a wedding. Open bar.
Well, not at the wedding, but driving home, and we were driving through Cincinnati, and I heard this commercial for an indoor golf facility, and that was getting ready to open. And my wife turned to me and she's like, "Man, Hendersonville needs something like that." I was like, "You know what? Yeah, that's kind of interesting."
I love that.
So for the next 6 months, I was like, let me dive into what is this? I have no idea what these concepts are.
That's amazing.
I don't know anything about golf simulators.
Right.
And so after 6 months, it was the 3rd week of February in 2021, woke up and I was like, I've never felt more empowered, if you will, or just, it was God's way of saying, hey, it's time to go.
Right.
Time to go.
It's go time.
Like, you don't have any other option. You got to run this thing up.
We're going to wake up fabulous tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So I called my business partner and I said, Josh, strap in, we're doing this. And he goes, okay, I'm in. So for the next 6 months after that, from February till basically August, we traveled around the country to...
Where'd you go?
So we went to Dallas, we went to Washington, D.C., we went to Chattanooga, Baltimore, South Florida. I think those are the big major metropolitan cities, and then just kind of all kinds of places in between to find. So these concepts, they exist, right?
Of course,
they're in other parts of the country, predominantly in the Northeast because of bad weather. They can't play golf but 3 months out of the year up in New England. So from that point, we went and said, what do we like? What do we not like?
Right.
How do we want to be different? How do we want to position ourselves in the market? And what does this look like? So for, I think it was about 7 months after that, it was architects and engineers and design and all kinds of fun things in between to go.
Because it's badass. I'm going to be honest. It's
I appreciate
badass.
that. Yeah,
it really is.
So it's a big space, but it's not a big space because
it is a big space, but it feels very homey and very inviting.
Hopefully done halfway on purpose. So we tried to make it not feel like a big, massive, empty building where it's like, oh, you just threw some things in there and then they serve beers. It's like, no, that's not the concept.
Right.
So we did a lot of market research, just trying to see what we liked and what we didn't. We found the current space that we're in over at the streets of Indian Lake in Hendersonville, and have been off and running for the last 4 months.
That's great.
So,
how were the first 4 months?
We have had everything under the sun thrown at us, so it has been interesting to say the least. So
I'm still up. I'm still swinging, right?
Pretty much. It was like you know, people are like, man, like all that happened in the first 4 months. I'm like, yep, absolutely.
Get it out of the way.
So
I'd be like, bring it now so I can comfortably get through the summer.
And that's kind of how I had to look at it, right?
Right.
Because
No doubt.
you know, second weekend we have a transformer in the building below, so half the power goes out in the middle of a Friday night. So the week after that, we had that week after that was a tornado.
That's right. It was bad here.
It was very bad.
You know, I'm from Texas. We get them. We get that
super,
stuff.
super devastating. A lot of local businesses, lost a lot of their frontage.
If you're an
storage.
insurance agent in this,
I wouldn't want to be in that
right,
business.
right,
It's like,
no,
I don't
me
want to
neither.
deal with that headache.
No, me neither.
So then we had that. Week and a half after that was Christmas, so we were closed obviously for a couple days. Yeah, I mean, you name it, we've been through it. We had a snowstorm. We shut down for 4 days in the middle of January.
See, we don't get that in Texas.
It's well, listen. If it flurries around here, people lose their
Oh,
mind.
same. If
Schools
they're
are
even
closed
calling
for a
for
month.
ice, if they're even saying the temperature's dropping, they're like, drip your water, get into your your shelter.
Make sure
you
you
know,
have
and
your
I'm
beans and your
also,
rice.
I also, right. And
Yeah.
I spent half my time on the East Coast, which is
Okay.
really funny. I'm like, dude, we don't
We don't deal
we
with
don't
this.
stop
Yeah.
down for that.
No,
That's
not at
silly.
all. So
But I get it. They're not equipped to handle it.
Absolutely. But yeah, so the first 4 months were weird. Like it was a very awkward, hey, we're super excited. We opened, unfortunately, behind schedule, which is pretty par for the course for any kind of construction. So we thought we were going to be open somewhere in August, September. Didn't open until the weekend of Thanksgiving.
If there's one thing you can count on, it's that construction will be delayed.
Always. Always and always.
Never,
Yep.
to all the builders, I love you people to death. Never, ever, ever believe a date they give you.
It's tough, right? Because you predicate everything on that,
Sure.
right? Whether
But
that's
I mean, stuff comes up that nobody has been prepared for.
absolutely, absolutely. 10 years in real estate before I got into this crazy venture,
Yeah.
I've seen a thing or two
Yeah.
when it comes to construction and time frames, so I get it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's frustrating because it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Life
like,
happens,
I'm like,
right.
I thought we were August, September, now it's
Right.
December. Like,
And
what
I'm
are we doing?
I'm writing checks and I'm not saying anything. I totally feel.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
what you did before this and what
Yeah.
brought you to this.
Absolutely.
Because entrepreneurs, working with entrepreneurs is like, you're literally, here it is. Like, I'm going to drop you off in the middle of a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
And you go figure out how to be fabulous and a millionaire.
Absolutely.
It's really difficult.
Absolutely.
So tell me how you got started.
So I'll give you the shortened version. So I roughly 10 years in the automotive industry. So I learned to sell cars shortly after college and during college. Loved that industry, thought the world of it,
Yeah.
was doing really, really well.
That's daily. Yeah, that's it. I mean,
it's
if
a
you want
grind.
an immediate jump, there it is, right there.
It's something. So you learn a lot of people skills. You learn how to talk to people.
Right.
You learn all the little ticks that people have. So the sales side of me obviously grew. Kind of brought me out of my shell. I was a relatively shy person when I was younger. And then so after in the car business, I truthfully was fired.
Right.
Not because of anything that I did. And it was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Sometimes are the things that bring us down is like, that's the pivotal moment that you're like, that
Absolutely.
wasn't meant to be.
1,000%.
Instead of and that's so important for everybody that's listening. Like,
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up. That's God's sign to say, move on.
Absolutely.
That's not working out for you.
It's keep it moving, keep trying. There's
Right.
something different. I've got
Absolutely.
more for you. So that happened, and my mom had been a real estate agent for years and years, and she's like, "You need to sell houses," and I was like, "You're crazy! Like
Right.
I'm doing just fine over here."
Right.
and
I'm doing
so-
just fine over
yeah.
here
I
with
don't-
the car industry doesn't like me.
Yeah. So so I was like, "Okay, cool. We'll take a jump. We'll take a leap." I don't
Yeah.
know anything about houses, but I'm like, "Listen, I know how to sell cars. Selling houses, it's the same concept, right?
Absolutely.
It's just people." So then started selling houses. Struggled for the first few years. It takes a little while to get off
Here
off
in
the ground.
Hendersonville.
Yes. So
Yeah.
here in Hendersonville in the Middle Tennessee area. So I was
Right.
taking anything I could get my hands on for the first couple of years. So that was a grind to try to figure that out.
Sure, no doubt.
Had a young daughter, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of stress and anxiety that goes along with that. Of
Absolutely.
like, okay, I've got to make sure that I show up and do the things that
Right.
I need
exactly.
to do.
And what's really even more insane than that is, when you're an entrepreneur, you get in your own head, right? Because I'm like,
Better
it's
than
not
anybody.
working. It's not working. When I believe, like, I'm like, you preach all day that anybody
Right.
can do anything. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Right.
You know?
It's a weird thing that we do as entrepreneurs to you know, it's you've got to be just crazy enough and have just enough of a quirk about you to go,
Right.
I think I'm going to go live on the edge. Like, it's
Right.
like in another life, like I probably used to like jump off of cliffs
Right.
or something.
Truthfully,
I'm
though,
not
but
doing
like
that
if you
now.
weren't,
but-
I don't know. This is my whole concept on
Mm-hmm.
that. You know, I don't want to go to work for 12 hours a day to
Yep.
not fulfill my dream, my cup, my soul, my
Absolutely.
happiness.
So I can definitely tell you all of the things. So everything real estate and automotive related, it was after one thing, and it was chasing money. It was like, I need the next paycheck. I can make more money. I can do this. And once all this stuff happens, I'll be super happy. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Right.
I mean, and now with Birdie
Can
Bros,
you
it's a
believe
different.
that money doesn't buy happiness? We've been hearing that.
Well, it's listen, it solves 90% of the world's problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same
and
time,
we as a society are conditioned.
for sure.
Well, money will fix it.
Absolutely.
You
And
know?
it will fix a lot, and
It
it's
will.
very important, but at the same time, it's your why, right?
Right.
I tell my staff this all the time. I'm like, why do you get up and go to work, right?
Right.
For some people, it could be single mom. It's for my son or my daughter or, you know, my wife or husband or
Right.
whatever the case may be.
Because the damn electric bill's coming back in next
Right.
month. That's happening.
It unfortunately doesn't go away.
Yeah,
so.
no. I
So,
found out there was no
yeah.
mortgage fairy.
Yeah, I've been looking for one. If you find one, let me know.
I mean, absolutely,
100%.
I'll share it. Because, I mean, I asked the tooth fairy. They're like, girlfriend.
Be like, try again
Straighten up
next
and
year.
fly right. Right. I know. And I also, this is another thing I found out. There's no money tree in the backyard. How many houses have you sold, Chris, with money trees in the backyard?
I wouldn't have sold any of them. I would have definitely bought that house.
Damn.
Or I'd have cut the tree down and moved
Really
it.
damn good advice.
Yeah. So it's it's a crazy situation that you get into that when again I didn't and still not that I don't care about the money. The money is how you keep score within business.
Sure.
But
Sure.
for me it's not a end all be all, right?
Yeah.
It's not the thing that I'm so focused on like how can I make personally more money or my
Right.
family or what like that will come. The
It will.
vision and the dream is where we're
Right.
heading, and that for me is so much more powerful.
Yes.
And I've always heard people say that, and I'm like, that's nonsense. Like that's crazy. Like, how do you not care about the money? Like that's
Right.
the whole point.
Right, exactly.
But
Because I'm damn sick of being broke. Right, same thing.
there's that.
Yeah.
But then when you find that passion piece that I've never felt it before in my life. It took me till I was 32, 33, something like that. In February when I woke up that morning, I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah,
Like,
it's go time.
I don't know what it is, but it's a thing.
That's
Like, I got to make it
amazing.
happen.
So how did you get investors to start, buying into this concept?
It's a great question. So that was one of the biggest conversation pieces with Josh and I. It was like, okay, how are we going to pay for all this?
Right.
And so we bootstrapped a lot of it. A lot of it's friends and family, friends and family acquaintances.
Right.
Just a small pool of people that we've put together and just said, hey, like here's the vision, here's the passion, and they see it and they feel it, and they're like, okay, I'm in. Like
Right.
this seems like a good idea.
Right.
So we've been very, very fortunate with that, and obviously moving
Because that's a
forward.
total different sale is trying to get investors. That's a whole
It's a-
other kind of sale.
I learned a whole lot in the first, I don't know, probably 6 months of like truly trying to raise capital.
Yeah.
Talking to some bigger players, talking to
Yeah.
some bigger people, and it was like, okay, you guys are asking different questions than maybe Bob down the street did, 3 weeks
Right.
ago. So this is I've got to be prepared on a different level for this.
Yeah. And that truly is in the preparation.
Absolutely.
Presenting yourself to ask for money.
It's tough.
It's not easy.
And you have to
And you got to be able to take the word no.
be genuine. Right?
Truthfully.
That's such
Authenticity.
You just have to be honest with people.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have everything worked out? Nope, not at all. I don't have all the ingredients.
Right.
I have the majority of
Right.
them. But I can tell you one thing, I'm a hell of a great pivot guy. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out and we're gonna go a different direction if we need to.
Right.
And
We
that's
talked
what's-
about that at lunch yesterday.
We did.
We were talking about the
Yeah, yeah.
menu, You're like, we found out what works and what needs to be scrapped.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't want my people to come here and get the best experience they can get.
And it's always going to be changing. There's
Right.
different seasons. There's certain things that'll sell better in spring versus fall versus winter.
Absolutely.
And it's a constant evolution, which is great because at the same time, I would hate to have a stagnant business. That's why
Of
I got
course.
away from being
Right.
a
Amen.
W-2
Right.
employee
Exactly.
of like I clock in, clock out, same stuff every day.
Essentially, you're going to work to put food in your mouth.
Right.
But you're not building your dream, you're building somebody else's.
Absolutely.
You know, I totally feel that.
But I also feel a lot of people need that time, right?
Yes.
I can speak to that. My business partner, Josh, has been, you know, a W-2 employee, you know, for the last 12, 15 years or whatever it is. And he's going through those motions of like, okay, what does this feel like? And I'm like, oh, no, it's the world's on fire. We're fine. It's totally good. And he's like,
God
well, wait a
made
minute.
hoses. You're calm down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no
So
doubt. I mean, it is
he's
a
a good-
huge leap of faith.
It is, and it's good to also have people around you that can balance you. Right?
Amen.
I
Truthfully.
am, you know, relatively type A and outgoing and outspoken and will talk forever. And Josh is not that person. So
Right.
it's a great.
We play on our strengths.
We're trying, right?
Right.
Most people don't realize that,
Exactly.
or maybe they
Right.
do, and it's a little too late. But
Right.
yeah, so far we're rocking and rolling, and we've got a lot of big visions coming up in the next 6 to 12 months. So.
What was the opening like?
Opening was
how did we not get an invite to that party?
yeah. That's well, I didn't. Even, yeah, absolutely. It's a good question.
We're coming to the next one though. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. So so opening was, again, everything was being predicated on waiting for our liquor license to be approved with the state.
How hard is it in Tennessee to get a liquor license?
For most people, it's relatively difficult.
Yeah.
Tennessee is also one of those, if you know certain people, things
It's
can
a
get
good
done.
old boy state.
Absolutely.
Texas is too. I love it. I'm okay
it's-
with living in that philosophy.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's skirting to say, it's like, hey, can you just take my application, move it to the top of the pile so
Right,
we can
exactly.
can we get
Right.
through this process?
And I'll let you play golf for free in my new fabulous joint.
But it's normally 30 to 45 days. They do obviously due diligence. They want to look at your financials, projections, you know, your
absolutely.
backgrounds, make sure you're not some crazy,
Right.
you know, felon out here trying
Right,
to sell
exactly.
alcoholic beverages to
How'd
people.
you get here? You didn't come across the border in the last 30 days, did you? No, I guess.
Right, exactly. So yeah, the process was relatively easy. We got down right to the end, and it was like, okay, I don't have, like, we were told 10 days. It's been 14. It's been
Right.
16, and we just keep pushing our opening. So unfortunately, we didn't have the greatest kickoff party as I wanted.
Right.
But at the same time, it was a hell of a little party. So it was the weekend after Thanksgiving. So had a ton of people in town.
But
There's
by the
lots
way,
of
that's
families.
the party week and
It
weekends.
is. It is. Nobody
I
has
think
to
we're
work.
conditioned to know the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which, by the way, is bigger than New Year's Eve.
I've heard that.
It is the biggest. I attended bar for a little while in college.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
did. I'm multifaceted. And that was our busiest night.
So that we didn't actually open before Thanksgiving. But it was the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It was the
But
wild.
people are in town.
It was the wild.
And they're
West.
like, listen, I can't sit next to Aunt Betty for one. I'm not eating a turkey croquette one more time.
I'm tired of looking
let's
at
go out.
magazines for shopping sales and all
Right.
this other stuff.
Exactly.
It's like we got to get out
right.
of the house.
But we live in a world where nobody has to do it anymore because Amazon will bring that stuff
Fair.
just immediately.
Yeah.
Get to know your Amazon driver, love them, get them on your payroll.
Absolutely.
That's
Gift cards at Christmas time. to work.
Truth,
Yes.
right? You don't even know that changes lives.
Absolutely.
So as you were going through this process, right? I mean, this has got you've got a young family.
I do.
I
Got
mean,
a
you got a
5-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you got
they're-
some people that are like, baby birds, I'm hungry.
Yeah, thankfully my wife has been great during this, so she still has her job for the moment
Right.
until everything is up and running. But it's been a huge adjustment for my family just to go. Dad's not home all the time. Dad's not at everything.
Especially in that industry. You're a
Absolutely.
night, weekend, holiday
Absolutely.
industry.
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
It's
And Saturdays is not, it's no longer family time. That's prime time.
until the business is where it needs to be.
Right.
But I think the other piece of the entrepreneurial spirit is sometimes everybody's like, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean to you? Well, I want to start this business. It's like, okay, fantastic. How do you plan on putting yourself out of business? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, how do you get yourself out of the
Right.
business?
Right.
You created a job for yourself,
Right.
right? That's a difference than being a business owner,
Absolutely.
right? You know, you're
Absolutely.
an owner or you're an owner operator.
Right.
There's a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for what we want to do and the growth pattern that we want to be on, I can't be there every day, like worrying about
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
you
food
don't.
orders get dropped
Because
off.
micromanaging is not
yeah.
going to help that either. You know, it's not gonna help.
Absolutely. So we've surrounded ourselves. Our management team's awesome. They've done a really good job to be able to take all that load off of us, so we can go. How do we get to locations 2 and 3?
Right.
And that's where we're at, right? Even though we're 4 months in, and people are like, "That's crazy. Why would you do that?" It's like the process takes 6 to 12 months.
It
like,
does.
You got to vet places. You've got
does.
to research.
And
you've
you
got
have to be
all the
patient
things. Absolutely.
to know that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, immediate gratification world. Can't be doing that then, that business.
That's also, I had a little humbling in the first 4 months of like, okay, November, December were really, really good. And then January and February are a little slower because people are going to the gym. They're maybe not drinking as much. So traffic slows down.
We talked about that yesterday. Yeah, I am anti-dry January.
Yeah.
Why would you pick January? Just pick September.
It's a miserable month.
It is, truthfully.
So of all the months.
Why are you adding to your misery?
You know, some people like pain and they like to live in it.
I know.
Truthfully.
But we've marketed this as a society. New year, new you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, I believe you have the ability to pivot at any given moment.
It's the greatest gym campaign on the planet.
Truthfully.
I mean, the amount of money that those people make off of that at $20
and
a pop.
It's like shaming you into it, like a picture of a cookie. You want to look like this? Christmas cookie, fat ass the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, then you're in your head. You're like, no, I'm happy resonating as a fat ass. Right.
Absolutely.
It's so true.
And that's the thing for us. So January, February were a little weird, and you get that, oh my gosh, that gratification we got in November, December, right when you open.
Right.
You've got to have ebbs and flows. Like it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows every day.
And that's another thing that entrepreneurs need to know. Everybody has a slow season.
Yes,
so like
regardless.
squirrels, we put our nuts away.
For sure.
Because it's coming. It's coming. Don't think as you just had this big kick-ass month that's maintainable or that's now the standard.
Right.
That is, I think, the biggest downfall with entrepreneurs.
I agree.
Like you need to know that at any given moment you're back to nothing.
Absolutely. And I learned that the hard way in real estate. I was very fortunate. So I started selling real estate in 2013 in Nashville. So it was right here where things were still affordable. People were buying houses.
Right.
And then
what an industry.
13 to 19 was just, I mean, if you weren't making money selling houses in Nashville around that time frame, then you were, I don't know what you were doing.
Right.
So
you're not doing the right job.
6 years, you got this faucet never shut off, right? Well, now things have come back to reality, and you've got a handful of people now that are like, okay, I'm going to double down and stick with it, and then you've got 40-50% that are out.
I mean, in Texas, we had that big, COVID movement where people were done living in states locked up.
For sure.
Had
the same thing around here.
People were like, I'm getting out. Yep. I need to go to a place where I don't have to show a vaccination card to get a cold beer.
Facts.
Right, which is, absurd. We've now learned that the science doesn't work. But it's so true.
Yeah, at one point, I think Nashville had 275 people a day, new people a day that were
that's
moving
Texas.
During, it was just, the floodgates were open and people were like, all right, well, let's rock and roll. Let's do this.
Well, that's America. That's freedom. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I get it. And I mean, you guys,
Absolutely.
Tennessee, Texas, Florida, huge
influx. Huge influx.
And even companies, businesses, because the tax structures are very different here in Texas than they are anywhere else in the country.
Well, it's also tough when you have a certain creative tax structure, I'll say creative nicely, in certain states. And then, oh, by the way, you can't open your business, you can't operate, you can't do anything. If you do, here's what you have to do. You go, okay, well, I can't do business as I see fit.
Right.
So it's time to go.
Right.
And that's insanity.
And as a business owner, you do know that when you take away their creative freedom and you are handing it to the government,
absolutely,
you're just their employee now.
It's yes. At some point, enough is enough.
Truth. Agreed.
And I think Nashville, there's a small minority group of people in Nashville that are business owners, bar owners that finally were like, okay, we're done.
We're finished.
We've had enough of your fun.
That's what happened in Texas, quite honestly, because there's no unions in Texas. So the teachers didn't have the right to be like, we're afraid to go back to work.
Yeah.
The governor's like, you go back to work or you're out of a job.
And that's how it should be. That's capitalism. That's free markets.
Amen.
Right?
I agree. I'm like, do you want to stand in line for soup also? Because it's going to get, at some point this is going to have to end.
So, and during COVID, we learned a lot for two reasons. One, because golf exploded, right? Golf was everywhere. Everybody was talking about golf.
As Americans had the beauty of some free time.
They did. And that was the only socially acceptable thing to do. And it's like, hey, because you're outside, you're not next to anybody.
Right. You have to wear a mask.
Don't have to wear a mask. You can do whatever you wanted on the golf course. So golf really took off.
Absolutely.
And it was great because it was like, oh, wow, this trend is really happening. Well, that trend has continued to happen.
Right.
Basically for the last 3.5, 4 years.
Because as you know, golf, just the sport, is fantastic. There is a whole other business side.
Oh, absolutely.
There is more money cut deals on a golf course
absolutely
than in any boardroom.
any boardroom ever.
Exactly.
And if you don't know how to play and you're trying to be an entrepreneur or
then
business,
please call
go
Chris.
get some lessons. Like, it's
Right.
it's well worth
Go
the
get
investment.
some clubs, head over to his joint, and
Yeah.
right. You know,
It's well worth it. So
it is a way of marketing yourself.
absolutely. And the hospitality piece is also what really took a hit, right? Because the majority of people during COVID, we lost a lot of really great quality people because they made it so easy for people to stay home. So now we're feeling those effects even years later because it's
customer service wise.
Customer service, trying to find people that actually show up and are adults. They show up on time.
Right.
They're prepared. And
because we were paying people to stay at home.
And then now you're having to pay people double what they are really worth just to get people in the door.
You know, that was another thing in Texas. The office buildings in Texas are still 100% full. Like, they're like, we're not killing an industry, the food industry, the lunch and crap. You got to go back to work. That's just what it is. And I think that takes like a mental toll. Like, we got used to living in sweatpants.
Absolutely.
And not interacting, and that built into the whole fear. So every time somebody say COVID, we're like, we just, in your mind, just went back into lockdown.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and on the East Coast, if you want to do anything ever, they're like, we need to see your vaccination card. I'm like, that's a HIPAA violation. But, you know, not only that, but then you feel prisonered.
You do. And there are certain industries and certain times that you feel kind of that way now, right? It's like it's still, things have not gotten back to normal, if you will. You know, 2018, 2019 feel. Whether it's employees, whether it's overall restaurant, hospitality. I mean, it even trickles down to, you know, high-end steakhouses. It's like you go to a place, you expect a certain amount of service and presence.
Service is part of the package in my mind.
It's 90% of the package.
Like exactly. Like the experience of relaxing and being waited on, and that's an experience.
Well, that's why you pay the money, right?
Amen.
You're supposed to.
Right.
But now people have gotten so accustomed to, I think there's a big article out about tipping and how, you know, as a society, we're just getting tipped to death. And it's like, well, yeah, because everybody decided during COVID or shortly thereafter, like, hey, the barista that just made my coffee deserves a $5 tip on a $9 drink.
When I drive my dry cleaning up, which is, you know, everything's crazy overpriced right now. And I'm like, it is your job to run
to take my card and take my money.
And that, you know what scares me about this, Chris, is that now we're raising a generation of people who are like, yeah, I'll go bring the trash cans in, but like I'm gonna need a tip for that.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Truthfully.
So it's one of those, like, yes, I can understand specifically my industry and the hospitality bar restaurant industry.
They're not paid minimum wage. So
it's an industry standard.
Right, exactly.
We do pay significantly better than what the normal minimum wage for servers and bartenders are. And we wanted to do that, and I feel compelled to do that because I still, if I'm not doing my job getting people through the door, I don't want you to suffer because there's not the tips to be able to move forward.
100%.
With their life. But the flip side of that is that we have certain expectations of, if we're paying you a very healthy wage and you're getting tips still, the level of expectation for that customer experience is very high.
Yeah, I agreed.
So it's everybody under the sun, it's like everything you do, it's like, oh, do you want to leave a tip? And it's like, no, I don't want. Like, why?
I swear,
Why?
like I'm at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, isn't your job to hand the coffee out the window?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wholeheartedly love people and believe that we should be taking care of each other. But like, 100%. Good God.
If I have a great experience.
Yes.
Right? And
if you're bringing it to my table, that's one thing.
Right.
Right. Handing out a window is just a whole nother.
Yeah. It's
whole nother concept.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a large corporations looking at it from a different perspective, going, hey, we can pay them less hourly if we allow them to have tips.
The state of California, this is their proposal, and it's going to go through, that every fast food employee will be starting at $20 an hour.
I mean, I don't think you can live in California for $20 an hour.
No, exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
It should be $80 an hour.
Exactly. And I'm like, what's the incentive to start young and build? Like we were taught, I was taught, I'm a little older than you.
Just a year.
Say that out loud.
A year or
Edit that shit out, Bradley.
A year or two.
Just a year or two, I know. We'll celebrate birthdays together because we're born the same year. That whole, we're teaching people, what's the incentive to cut lawns for money? to shovel snow for money when you can go to McDonald's and call in sick as many times as you want, and we're going to give you $20 an hour?
Well, in that, I think that is the perfect question to shift and go, now I know why the guy that comes and cuts my grass, now he wants 25, 30, 40, 50% more.
Truth.
Right? Because now the actual workforce potential for that, segment is not there. So
Amen.
what options do you
Right.
have?
Exactly.
It's like, well, I can't find somebody because everybody that wants to be hired, they want to make $25 an hour
Right.
to run a weed eater and a blower. It's like,
Right. Exactly.
that's tough.
It's tough.
But at the same time, you're handcuffed. You've got to have.
We
got to
are
have employees.
totally handcuffed at this point.
So it's a double-edged sword in everything. I think that there is some sort of a common ground that hopefully the world will figure it out. But if not, I don't care.
We'll let it figure it out.
We got other.
If not,
I got
we
other
just-
stuff to
we
focus
just
on.
pivot at that point.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a hiring process for you. What do you look for? Your manager's fabulous, by the way.
Appreciate that.
Can I just tell you?
Emily
she's
does a
like,
great
how
job.
can I help you? And she's
Yes.
like, I'm like, can you go back and tell Chris that Deb's here? And she's like, in reference to? I'm like, he's going to figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
She's spot on, and
Yes.
she's professional, and the attitude's great, the appearance is great, everything. What do you look for when you're hiring this brand that's your name?
Yeah, that's a tough situation. And the reason I say that, it's not tough because I know what I want, but I have this perfect little
Right.
picture in my head, and then
Right.
I come back to the reality of what we've just been talking about for 10 minutes.
Right. And how do
Excuse
you
me.
put your passion into them?
A lot of that has to do with just being there and them seeing it, right?
Right.
That's
Agreed.
that's the biggest thing.
Energy rubs off. Good energy rubs off.
Attitude reflects leadership, right?
Right,
So
absolutely.
the way that I portray myself, the way that I do certain things on certain days, or how I interact with the table, or interact with customers that walk through the door,
Right.
or whatever the case may be, they see that and they go, "Oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to
We're
do."
leveling up.
Absolutely.
Because if he's willing to do the grind, we got to be willing to do the grind.
Listen, and I will do all the grinding.
And that's such an amazing example too, because you're young or whatever it is, and like if they want to, start, like the dream is to build your own.
Absolutely.
I
would love for every employee, whether it's a cook, a bartender, a host, whoever, it's like that at some point they go, "Hey, I've saved enough money and I want to open one of these. Can you help me?"
Right.
Done. Like, not a problem.
So if you were sitting down going through, what's the number one quality you look for in somebody that's going to work with your name on it?
Ooh, number one. I think the biggest thing for me is to be able to have a conversation very similar to what we are, right? It's a level of confidence.
Amen, yeah.
And it's no more, no less. I can teach you all the nuances that I want you to know, whether it's salesmanship, whether it's talking about golf clubs or how to describe food or whatever the case may be. That stuff's easy.
Right.
But it's having a presence and being able to speak to people, right? That is
Absolutely.
the thing that we struggle, but we are also looking for, right? We
Yeah.
struggle with it because the
Your
majority
bartender
of-
yesterday was fabulous.
Yes.
He was fantastic.
Jordan does a good job.
Just a good guy,
Yeah.
right?
He's really good.
Yeah.
And the rest of the staff, Jordan usually works a day shift, so I've realized that the majority of these people are not morning people, so it takes
Right.
them hours to wake up.
Right.
But the night shift crew is also real fun. We get
They were amazing.
loud
The
music.
second
and a great
bartender
vibe,
we
yeah.
met that came on after Jordan, he was cool.
Yeah. I think it was Luke there yesterday? I think it was Luke.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, so
he was great.
It's all about energy, right? Energy is
Absolutely.
the most important piece for, back to your question. It's confidence, it's energy, it's a presence about you, it's being able to speak to people depending upon what position you're in. And then I need to be able to look you in the eye and go, okay, I can trust you.
Right.
Like, I can read people relatively well.
Right.
10 years in the car business selling houses. Like, I
Right,
can read through
exactly.
some stuff. But at some point, it's like I have to trust you with what I have come up with and invested all this time, energy, and effort.
My
in.
future is resting in your
Correct.
pouring.
So, I would say confidence is the biggest and presence about you.
Yeah.
It's super important. All the others, all that can be taught.
You know what I found really worked for me in the business world when it comes to, I give skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't work for me. You work for, this is not just your future, it's
Right.
mine. If I'm growing,
Right.
you're growing with me.
Absolutely.
So that is, especially with my assistant now, like he is as excited, and because he's like, he's got skin in the game. Because
Right.
he knows if I'm at this level, you're making more money.
And we've instilled that even 4 months in, to management, even down to everybody else as far as hourly employees. It's like, guys, the better you do, the faster we grow, the faster everybody makes money.
Right.
I was like, if I could write a
We're
check
all
for
in
$1
the
million
same
to
team.
everybody, I would, but
Right.
you're going to need to put some effort and energy in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they see that and they get that, because there's certain things, again, that we do day to day, whether it's me, whether it's Josh, Emily, whatever other management ownership, that they go, okay, they really do care, right?
Absolutely,
And those little situations that happen where you immediately address that situation, remedy that, and move forward, 99% of the other business owners that they've worked for, they just ignore it and keep moving. They're
Right,
just like,
exactly.
it was a thing
That
that
is
happened.
the key in business too, that if there's an air in the room, let's talk about that, you know, because the growth
Absolutely.
is for all of us.
And we have a very much an open door policy when it comes to that. If you guys see something maybe that could be done more efficient, if
Let's
you see
go.
something
Right.
that you want to change, something that you don't like, is there a customer or a situation that you don't feel comfortable interacting with? Like, come get us. Like, we're here. Like, I have
absolutely.
no problem talking to somebody
Right.
about something. Or management or whoever. Like, those are the most important pieces to be able to go, hey, you don't feel comfortable? Let me show you how to do this in the future. Right? As opposed to going, hey, just go tell him he's fine and yeah, we'll figure it out. And it's like, well, what
Go
did
say
yeah.
why. No, it's
Yeah, right. So there's a give and take there, but I think
Right.
again,
in that business,
showing
you
the
got to
action.
humble yourself,
you do, but you
because
also
some people are just damn unpleasable. My
I'll take a
grilled
pause on
cheese-
that one.
My grilled cheese is too cheesy.
The amount of wild, crazy things that people say, and it's funny. I laugh at it.
Me too.
It's just people are people.
Right,
I
absolutely.
can tell you the craziest stories I've ever
I
could
agree.
never
He
think
said,
of.
in my world, some people are just, that's just the way it is. They're
just-
wired. You're hardwired that way.
And at the end of the day, you're never going to make anybody happy. Like, so
You're certainly not going to make everybody happy.
I tell our staff all the time. I said, I hope 20% of the people walk in the door and they go, nope, not the place for me, and turn around, and walk right out.
Right, exactly. And they've lost, that's it. They're never coming back in.
Because those people you're never going to make happy.
I feel the
anyways.
same way. To me, this is with clients how my assistant and I approach it. I'm like, can we make them into a badass? Do they want to be a badass? Right? If not, I'm not your chick.
Facts.
I only work with badasses.
Absolutely.
If you don't have the potential, I'm going to give it to you.
I'm going to remove all those obstacles that you think are in your way,
Right,
and then I'm going to
exactly.
see what I'm really working with.
Exactly.
Peel back the onion layers
if
and
you're
see
cool
what's
with
in
being
there.
stuck there, I'm not your girl.
Same.
I'm not your girl.
Exactly.
I'm just not.
That's how we view our employees as well. It's like, guys, like, we're going to give you all the tools that's necessary. We're going to give you all the things that we need from you, and as far as clear direction. It's up to you to show us. Like, do you want this or do you not?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
make that call.
I've been that girl. I've been that
Yeah.
bartender behind that bar.
Yeah.
And then consequently, to get into therapy later, I think they just prepped me for it.
I mean, it's funny that you say that. We tell our well, it's kind of a running joke, but our bartenders, like, they are therapists.
I'm not even kidding you.
Like, but that's what a bartender
I'm not,
is.
and then it morphs
right?
into everything too. Your girlfriends call you, and instead of being like, "Let's go out and share that wine," they're like, "Can I tell you what happened to me this morning?" I'm like, "Can we get it out before the wine? Because
Right.
let's
Yeah.
go, hit me right now."
It's crazy stories. It's you're going to hear about somebody having a bad day, somebody having a great day.
I
you know,
also
whatever the
remember
case may be.
being people's just best friend.
Yeah,
You know, them being like, "Thank you for
Absolutely.
this giving me the space."
absolutely. They just
Yeah.
need somebody to talk to.
Amen. That's
And
it. When you hold space
that's
for
it.
people, that is essentially saying, "I care enough about you to hear the story."
Absolutely. But
You
you have to
know?
be genuine with that.
Oh,
right?
I'm totally genuine with that.
Well, not you
Yeah,
necessarily.
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, again, the bartenders have to realize, like, hey, you can't just fake that.
No.
Like, you've got to be genuine and actually care about people.
Absolutely.
So that part's it's tough
Absolutely.
to find.
So I got a couple more questions.
Okay.
One, how do our listeners and our viewers, how do they go to your fabulous place?
Yeah, so they can reach us at our website. BirdieBros.com is the easiest and fastest way. So on the website, you can inquire about large event gatherings, if you want to book or reserve a bay, or if you just want dinner reservations to come out with your family to have dinner. All that can be done on the website. Or you can check out all of our Instagram and TikTok and all the fun, crazy stuff
What's
we do.
the Instagram?
It's Birdie Bros TN.
Love that.
So the content has gotten a little different from the very beginning. So we've gotten a little bit more loose and a little more fun with it, and skits and
Right.
trendy things. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on there. But yeah,
Right.
our socials are definitely our website's the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Great. So they can make reservations and go through that.
They can do all that right on the website.
Two more questions.
Okay, 2 more answers.
We're going big. What's the next move? What's the next move for this fabulous place?
I knew this question was coming.
Right, exactly. Hold on. Get some more tequila. I'm going to grab some more wine. Cheers to the
Cheers.
Cheers
Thank
to
you
the
so much for the invite.
Oh, are you kidding? Thank you so much for coming.
So the plan at first, so I'll give you a quick backstory just because I know we got to get moving here, but the quick backstory was, hey, I think I'm just going to solve Hendersonville's problem. During this whole process for the last 2 years, it was like, why not me, right?
Right, true.
Question
I
that
love
all the wonderful entrepreneurs say.
Right.
And so now we are, okay, let's conquer our backyard. Let's conquer Middle Tennessee. Let's put 2 or 3 more locations up. We thought the suburbs was a really good fit. I think it is a good fit for the most part, but I
Yes.
also think that being in downtown Nashville is extremely important.
Sure.
And certain other places strategically throughout Middle Tennessee. Once the model's completely proven and everything is done and solid exactly the way that we want, hopefully 24 to 36 months, then it's time to start going to other major metropolitan cities. So
I think that's fantastic. That's the dream.
that is the dream, and that is
I love that.
not
Yeah.
necessarily a dream. That's going to happen. It's
That's
just a matter
right.
of time.
I love that. When people
So-
are like, "What's your dreams?" I'm like, "Dude, reality is the only way I roll."
Facts.
I'm like,
So,
don't and dream.
yeah.
Okay, second
So,
question.
Yes,
As you're growing and how this is going, you're gonna come back and hang out with us?
absolutely.
Talk more about it.
I'm hoping the next time's at Birdie Bros, so we can have drinks and you can see
I'm
the
gonna
place.
promise
and
you next
come
time we
hang out.
film in this area,
Yeah.
we're at Birdie Bros.
Done.
We're
Yeah.
totally.
We can get a whole bunch of fun wine tastings in there. We can do all
Love
kinds of fun
it.
stuff.
I would love it. It has been such an honor and such a privilege
I appreciate that.
to have
Thank
your
you.
energy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're looking
Absolutely.
forward to the next one. Don't worry, we're now connected. You see this team?
No, I get it.
We
I get
cultivate
it.
love.
If not, I'm sure you'll hunt me down.
Don't
so I
you?
get
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
get that energy from you. I know
That's
what I'm
all right.
getting into.
Listen, I'm not embarrassed to
So,
say I'm a
yeah.
stalker. No.
But I appreciate very much the invite and the time to hang.
Absolutely.
So,
We loved having you. We can't
Yeah.
wait to see this grow.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.